Okay, hey everyone. I'm Roger Myers from Maumee Valley Beekeepers. We're going to do a hive inspection here. This is an overwintered hive. It's a couple years old. I looked at it yesterday. I think we may have a mite issue already. So we're going to do a mite wash. We're going to look at some drones. You can see the bees are coming. I always look at my front of my entrance before I open a hive. I want my bees flying in and out. If all the bees are home, it's not a good time to open up your hives. If it's rained, if it's getting ready to rain, anything like that, where all the bees are inside, you got a lot more workers to deal with. So I got my smoker lit. We'll just give a little puff. It has been really nice and warm. The bees lately have been real peaceful. So I take off my lid. I usually like, once I get my lid peeled off, just give them a little puff. This is a honey super that was put on May 12th. So there is honey in it. And since I know it's honey in it, there's really I don't peel off the lid, take a quick look. I can feel it's heavy. It's almost full. I set it off to the side. I got another honey super that was put on May 23rd. The bees are working on it pretty good. I like to clean off all the burr comb that the bees build, because when you leave that on there and you set the box back on, you're violating their bee space and it's real easy to smash some of your bees. So I try not to smash any bees. I carry old coffee cans with me and I put the wax in the coffee can, take it home, recycle it. So I'm going to take a quick look in here. The bees have had about 10 days working on this. And since I don't run queen excluder, the queen has decided to come up here and lay a few eggs. Honey on the outside dome, brood in the middle, right in the middle of the hive. I can see eggs, I can see small larvae. Some drone cells down at the bottom. So I'm gonna guess I probably got 3 or 4 frames that look like this. I'm gonna set this frame in the back. Some drone larvae. I got cap drone here, cap drone up here, some larvae in here. This is an older honey frame. I've been in business a lot of years, and I'm sure this was a used frame when I bought it. Again, honey and larvae. So first off, I know I have a queen that is laying. So I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna put this back together, and I'm gonna take this honey super off. Well, let me check, see how much room's on the outside. Of course, I always have to pull out the old one. Let me pull a nicer, fresher one now. This is almost full of nectar. So just a little spot here in the center that they're waiting. I'm sure they probably want the queen to lay eggs in there. So they got nectar here. The other side, some stored pollen. I know a lot of you are going to ask, well, I got brood in here and it's a honey super. 21 days, it'll hatch out. I'll move it up. The bees it'll hatch, and then they'll refill it with nectar. So I'm not real concerned about it. This will all be able to be extracted. It might just take me a little longer. But the bees, I have found that if I put a queen excluder, like right here above here, I'm limiting the space the queen can use. If she wants to lay in a bigger space, I just allow her to try to prevent swarming. So we're going to take this one off. And it's, by judging the weight, maybe half full. So now I'm down into where I would like the queen to be. This is the brood area. I'll pull out one of these outside frames. The queen's less likely to be on the outside frames. She's usually in the middle. It's not 100%, but primarily, so pull out the outside frame, you're less likely to roll the queen. And sometimes I kind of judge if this thing's, it was stuck a little bit. There might be some drone comb on it. Drone comb's on the other one, but lots of nectar in this outside frame. So the brood nest is in the middle area, storing the honey on the outside. Also, you can see there's lots of drones on here. So this is end of May. It's swarming season. The bees want to raise drones. Since the drones don't do anything but eat and mate virgin queens, all these drones are in here hanging on this nectar, feeding. They're getting the girls, the worker bees, to feed them. They're crawling around. They don't want to get too far away from the buffet. So they're next to the buffet, waiting for handouts till it warms up a little more so they can go out and fly. Some of them are probably flying. They might be already made one venture out to find a queen, and they're back refueling. I do see a few flying. Drones primarily fly above 75 degrees, and I know we're just approaching maybe 75 right now. So I'll pull the next one off. Got lots of deviation, and I use natural real wax foundation. The bees chewed a hole in here. We have a deviation, so they put some drone larvae in here. So one of the things I do with drone larvae, I do need drones to mate with my queens, but some of them are sacrificed, and I use my knee as a workbench. I'm going to use the scratching tool. This is made primarily to scratch your wax capping so you can extract honey, but I use it to pull drones out. And all I do is get all the worker bees away, jab it in, pull it up, and then I look for the brown mites on here. This first pick, I do not see any. When they get to be a nice purple eye, they pull a lot better. These are just on the edge of being pullable. And you can see with this deviation here, I'm having trouble. I'm about ready to break the foundation. Let me go over here, some more. I don't see any. Drone was crawling on there, still none. And you can see the worker bees will cannibalize any of this mess. They'll clean it up. And I don't see any drones on that. Or these are drones. I don't see any mites on it. So I'm gonna continue on then. This isn't the most beautiful frame, but it is what it is. Not all frames are perfect. Not all beehives are good engineers. So here's another one. Not a lot of worker brood. Oh, here we go. Found the queen walking on this one of the outer side frames. Empty foundation here, and you can see the queen walking right here, plowing her way through. That's why sometimes it's hard to find her. A lot of times I look for the moving bee because she very seldom sits still. But if you have a lot of bees on your frame, she'll plow through underneath them, so she's hid underneath. But she's right here, and there's a lot of empty cells here. She's probably wanting to lay eggs in there. So since I see the queen on this frame, one thing is I don't want to do much farting around on it. I'm not going to take these off. I'm going to put her back. And I'm going to put her back in real quick here. since I know she's on this frame and we want to do an alcohol wash, if I get this box off, now I know where my queen is. She's in this box. And since I only have 2 hands, I gotta take the box off, set it over here. If I had one of those hangers to hang the frame on, which I got in my box, I just didn't bring them out, I could have hung her out here and I know where she's at. So, moving the box off, I know she's in here. I'm gonna show you, here's what you really wanna see. Here's nice frame, brand new this year, 21. Open larvae on this side, a mix of cap and open larvae, lots of nurse bees. They're still filling this out. I'm gonna guess this has only been in a couple weeks. So that looks nice. So I'm gonna put that back in. I'm gonna scoot this over. I know I have a queen. I know she's laying. I'm gonna scoot these frames over so I have room to put that last frame in when I get done. And we're gonna look in here. Let me see, these bees are crawling. You never know if they're gonna crawl up the frame, down the frame. I'm gonna brush a few of these bees off so I can get this frame back in here without smashing any bees. Don't want to smash the queen. Down it goes. These crawl around, so our queen's in here, so we don't have to worry about putting her in our alcohol wash. That's the ideal way. A lot of times we're not going to find the queen, so we have to do a lot more inspecting. Now I'm going to search for baby bees being emerged. There's no brood on this frame, so this is not a good frame to do an alcohol wash on. I hope there's some brood down in here. I hope it's all not up in that top box. Here we got some. This looks better. I got eggs in here. I got some really small larvae. I have drone larvae. So I know I have some worker bees, young newly hatched bees feeding this larvae. Some on the other side. There's also brood on this side. And the way I do my alcohol washes is I like to shake these bees into a tub, and I'm going to find 2 or 3 frames like this to shake in my tub. One thing, by shaking the bees in the tub, the older field bees will fly back to the hive. They don't like being in the tub. The new worker bees do not fly. A couple things: they do not fly, they do not sting. So I'm going to shake this in the tub. Couple quick throws, threw most of the bees off. I'm going to set this behind, and as you can see, there's bees in the air now because the old field bees are flying back into the hive. They're not going to tolerate being out here. They didn't like that throw. I'm going to pull the next frame. Again, cap brood. There's a big empty hole over here, so I'm guessing, and I can see here's a bee chewing its way out. Here's a bee chewing its way out. So there's nurse bees emerging on this frame. This is really a good frame to shake nurse bees off of. And if my tub was just a hair bit bigger, it'd probably be even better. So now I got 2 frames I've shook bees off of. Bees are flying. Sometimes I do a little of this to get those field bees to fly back, because the field bees are less likely to have mites on. This is a more accurate test, according to Randy Oliver. This is a honey frame. This back. I already checked this one. I'm going to skip over a couple. Again, we got cat brood and some emerging. Some nurse bees here. I see eggs in here. So the queen was here laying. Again, I'm going to shake one more in here. And one thing that happens if I find is if I didn't find the queen, now I can inspect in the tub. So we're going to let this sit just a little bit. The field bees are going to keep flying back. I'm going to put this frame back in. Sure I don't roll any bees. Got that in. I don't have very many bees up here. I got my bee space. I'm going to step over the tub since I got some bees on the ground. If I have I have some bees on the bottom here, so I set this. I'm going to give them a little smoke to get them up off the bottom. Smoke them back up onto the frames. They're in. And see, I just have a few bees here. If I just give them a little smoke, it doesn't take much. As you may not even see the smoke, but you can see I got the bees moved down. That way I'm not smashing bees in between the two boxes. I put this one back in. This is the one that had some. And I like to, if you see, I shimmy this a little bit, so if there's any bees, I kind of bump them, and a lot of times they'll run into the box, and I'm not smashing their heads here. So, got these back together. I used to do the quart jar thing, dump the alcohol in here, use a canning lid to shake it, and then strain them through the number 8 hardware cloth. That's kind of a pain, especially now that they make the easy checks. I think this has made life so much easier to do an alcohol wash with the easy check. About 20 bucks. This one's brand new, first time it's ever been used, but I've watched other people use it. So I got my alcohol, set it back here out of the way, and I want to get a half a cup of bees. And what I'm going to do is take one more look for my queen, even though I know she's in here. If I didn't find the queen, I would take another look in here, look for my queen. There usually be a pile of bees on her. She'll be here and all these other bees will be on her protecting her. So I look around, and what I usually do is I'm going to shake these down, scoop up my half a cup of bees, dump them in my alcohol, find my lid, and give them a quick swirl. That way they're dead. I'm going to take these bees and dump them back in the hive. Don't need them. All in. I'm going to give them a second to go down. And I got some fanners up here. They've been riled around a little bit. They're not going to be real happy with me anymore. And I'm going to set this box back on. Got some grass that I mowed yesterday stuck to the bottom. And we're back together. Put the lid on. I do have a few bees still crawling around out front. Some of these bees, they're going to crawl up. You can see them congregating here. They'll crawl up, figure out how to get back up here. Sometimes I feel bad for them, so I pick them up, pitch them in, give them a hand. I spilled them, I put them back. Back to our alcohol wash, so we got our bees in here. And the new recommendation is to swirl. Swirl for a minute. As you know, from, I hope, the other classes, the mites prefer drone brood over worker brood. And the reason is it takes an extra 3 days for that drone brood to emerge. Gives mother mite a couple extra daughters to emerge in that time. So I think my minute's up. I'm gonna look, and in this easy cup, I'll open it up. The bees are in the basket, and you can see the holes in it. Lets the alcohol wash through, and the mites should be in my cup here. So you hold it up, and you look for some mites. You want, in my half a cup, there should have been roughly 300 bees. Threshold is 3 mites per 100 or 9 mites in a wash. I see 1. So I think there's just one mite in here. So with only 1 mite in my mite wash, it warrants, it's not time to treat for mites. I'm gonna let it go. It would be a lot nicer if my queen wasn't up here and she was down here laying. I think there's more room for her. Overall, it's not too bad. This is June 3rd. I already got almost 1 box of honey on here, 1.5 since she's laid in the other half. What I'll do probably like next week is probably move this up above the honey, move this honey back down, probably put a honey super on. And what I'm doing is putting a honey barrier here. A honey barrier also kind of works as a queen excluder. The queen comes up, walks around on all that honey, can't find a place to lay, she goes back down. She's just wandering around trying to find a place to lay an egg. She can't find any, she'll go back down, and then I'll proceed with honey supers. The brood will hatch out of here and they'll refill it. So overall, it's not a bad looking hive. It's not the strongest hive in my apiary, but we're doing good. This, as I said, it's already made 1 box of honey. This is June. We're in Northwest Ohio. Our primary nectar flow starts about the first day of summer, so the middle of June through the middle of July. So I still have time to get these built up, and this one's got a lot of potential.